KFI, later with Mo Kelly, live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. You can check us out on YouTube. Join the Mo Migos. Send us a chat message in the Motown chat. We love talking about movies here. We want to give you an update on some really important information and also the forecast, what is ahead for the industry. California lawmakers have approved an expanded $750 million film tax credit program. You've heard us talk about this. This would inspire and encourage movie makers to do their business, film their movies and streaming shows here in California. So it's more than double the amount, and it's a win for studios, producers, unions, industry workers. And that's what I think you should do. You do what you can with what you have right where you are to inspire more business, more movies being made right here in Southern California. But I don't know if that is the actual solution to the larger question of how long will we be actually going to the movies. There's making movies and how we consume movies. It's one thing to say, yeah, we're going to have more movies produced and filmed here in Southern California, but are we actually going to go to the theater to see them? And there's this other story which is running parallel to it. And basically most movie theater executives think that the traditional movie-going experience has about maybe 20 years at most left. 20 years. I think it's much less than that. I really do. And maybe I'm being pessimistic. I don't think that in 2037, per se, we will still be consuming movies in the traditional way of driving our ass to AMC, Regal, or General Cinema to sit down for that community experience of watching a movie. The delivery systems have changed. All the first-run movies we get to see generally inside of 45 days at home. And we've long talked about the better home experience just about everyone has. And there are other movies that we can watch which may not be theater quality, but good enough to keep us from actually going into the theater.
I think giving it 20 years is high hopes because they're still in the business. But within a 20-year span, I don't know if there are going to be enough movie theaters that are offering something other than come watch this thing on the screen with a high-def picture. Now, I know we have a mutual friend, Tom Cunningham, who went to go and see The Matrix at, what is it called? Cosm.
COSM.
Now, that
I want to do.
That's an experience. That looks great. But how many movie theaters can do that? How many big picture films are there to go and watch at a Cosm? It's a great experience, but it's not universal for film.
And it is not specifically for film. It's especially tailored movie experience. They're not just putting it up on the screen. If you're not familiar with it, it's about an immersive experience. And they also show events, sporting events, not just movies. Mm-hmm. They have all sorts of events which go on at Cosm. So it's in addition to, not their bread and butter.
Like, that would make me want to actually go watch a game. It looks really cool.
But you would be going to Cosm.
Exactly.
You're not trying to see a movie.
No.
And going forward, I don't know how you can have these 4 or 5 theaters with 70 or 80 seats in them and that be the draw for you to see the latest movie. No, honestly, the draw is the latest movie coming straight to me. That's where I think all of this is leading eventually. This how are you going to convince people to go to, and I'm going to pick on AMC because they're the largest one in the world. How are you going to convince people to go to a physical building to watch a movie on a screen, which is technologically not much better than what you have at home? The sound system or anything.
The thing about AMC is they're trying to now sell this experience of having these bars and starting to show games, concerts, and things like that, because Monday through Friday, eat, pray, buy some chocolate is not going to get people in theaters. You need big budget films every week to get people in, and that's not happening. Some of these smaller indie films, you're not playing that at an experience thing like Cosm or any of the 4DX theaters or anything like that. There's not enough big budget films coming out in a calendar year.
But there are enough, not necessarily big budget, but let's say big Netflix budget, big Hulu budget, big Amazon Prime budget, where they're spending, 70, 80, 90 million dollars on these movies, and they are coming out far more frequently than the actual big budget blockbusters in movie theaters. We were talking about the Old Guard 2 comes out next week. I know that's at least 70 million that they spent on that. And that's going to be on Netflix. As far as I'm concerned, that means free because Netflix already has my money for the month.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, that's in addition to what I already plan to watch in Netflix. That for me, and I can't speak for anyone else, that's enough because I get enough movie level quality entertainment at home, and I don't have to take time out of my day, let's say going to the movies like Mark Rahner does at midnight and not getting home until 3 a.m. I would rather do without that.
Plus, drinks are free, you have your food, and you can make your own popcorn.
And my easy chair is
Much
fantastic.
comfier.
Yes.
I don't know. The chairs in some of these theaters are pretty competitive. I finally got to the one up at Porter Ranch near where Tuala lives. It's nice.
It may be nice, but is it driving 20 minutes nice?
Yes, you got to get in the car. You got to put on pants.
No, that means a lot because I like watching stuff in my drawers.
No, there are complications and some compromises you have to make. But some movies you just want to see in a theater. Like you want to see 28 years later in a theater.
No, I don't. It'll be fine for me when I see it on Netflix, whatever
The only
hits.
F1 I definitely want to see in the theaters. That would be a good Cosm one too.
But here's the point. There are not enough of those to change the trajectory of movie theaters.
I've been reading a little bit about why that is and why some of the movies in theaters look so crappy now. And it has to do with the flat way that they're filmed so they can be put together in editing and have special effects added to them. A lot of movies that you see in theaters don't look special anymore like older movies used to. They look like the same kind of stuff you'd see on like CW.
And I wonder if they're made with the express intent of, knowing that it's going to be in a television environment later on to watch on a smaller screen. The aspect ratio.
The lines, yeah.
I think it's a production issue. I think they're shot in such a way so that they're not really elaborately lit and filmed on the spot so that things can be added later on in the process.
Plus,
It's a good point.
We come to AMC theaters to laugh,
Oh, God,
to cry,
Not her again.
to care.
Leave us
Because we
alone.
need that, all of us. That indescribable feeling
and
we
that's
get
after like
when the lights
10
begin
trailers?
to dim.
And an M&M's commercial.
And we
The
go
don't
somewhere
talk, don't text
we've never
commercial.
been before. Not just entertained,
Nicole.
but somehow reborn. Together. Dazzling images on a huge silver screen.
So melodramatic.
Sound that
so
I
huge.
can feel. Somehow,
It's a girthy
heartbreak
screen.
feels good in a place like
I'm
this.
going to put you out.
Our heroes feel like the best part of us. And stories feel perfect and
For a
powerful.
world-renowned actress, she's really hamming it up.
They are.
Yeah.
AMC theaters.
Don't forget, at AMC Theaters, starting Tuesday, they're adding another 15 minutes or so of commercials.
Oh, that's right. The commercial.
That's right.
I forgot about that.
Starts
That's
this
right.
coming week.
Oh,
Yeah.
So Mark, for his Rahner report next week, will report on the commercials. He didn't stay long enough in the movie.
listen, if you don't, nobody's more disgruntled about that than me. I went to F1 today, and we're going to talk about that shortly. The movie's more than 2.5 hours. Then you want to add another 15 minutes of commercials to that?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's more, and I understand we're talking about the survival of movie theaters. More commercials, more revenue. I get all that. But ultimately, they need people in seats to buy the concessions. That's where they make the money, the concessions. And if they're not in seats watching the movie and buying concessions, then the extra commercials are just delaying the inevitable.
Have you noticed how the people working the counter actually act personally dejected if you only want the movie ticket and no food?
Yeah, it's because they're not going to get that extra.
Yeah.
Yeah, they take it personally. They're like, so just the ticket then?
Just a ticket. And that's why they have all those specials and promotions and the
All the
food.
damn buckets.
Yeah.
I mean, the bucket game is ridiculous. You got the.
Oh, there's a new Jaws one that looks really cool. You eat your popcorn out of the shark's mouth.
Yeah.
I want that.
There's a Megan one too. You get it out of her head. They're really trying.
No, they are. The Thunderbolts one, you were eating out of the limousine. They had it was the giant
Oh,
gold
yeah.
limousine. You were
We
eating
remember
out of
saw
it.
that.
And then there was
Yeah.
that dirty looking one for Dune. I like those.
The Dune one was great. The new one for Fantastic Four with the Galactus head.
It's $80.
It's $80, but that's less than the Herbie, which you can put your drink in, your soda in, your candy in. The Herbie robot transforms into a full eating center.
Okay, I want that.
That's like 120 though. I mean, it's crazy.
I got news for you. None of that is encouraging me to actually go to the theater at the end of the day. None of that. I don't need another popcorn dispenser. I don't need another souvenir. I need a reason to go.
You need to eat popcorn out of Megan's head.
KFI AM 640. We have a Martin Kove update. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. He's so juvenile. This is the guy who says, I don't go watch Pixar movies because I'm an adult.
It's
and he
time
says
for the
some
news,
stuff
Mo.
like that.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI AM 640 is Later with Mo Kelly, live on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and the iHeartRadio app. I don't know if we were the first on the story, but as far as KFI, we were really early on the story regarding Martin Kove and how his behavior regarding a fellow co-star of Cobra Kai. We thought even then, we said even on the air, Alicia Hannah Kim, we thought that behavior when he bit her arm, almost drawing blood, tried to kiss her arm after that. That said to me, and I know it said to Tawala, that this is not the first time that this type of behavior, questionable behavior, has probably availed itself. And now today, it's come out that Sony Pictures had investigated the set behavior of Martin Kove. Evidently, there was an incident or an alleged incident. He didn't put his hands or didn't touch this extra, but according to the story, this extra on set, I guess, was a featured extra because this happened over multiple instances. Mm-hmm. Martin Kove allegedly was leering at her and making verbal pronouncements that made her feel uncomfortable, and she went to, I guess, the directors and other Sony management to explain her side of the situation. And so Sony conducted an investigation. It did not turn up anything tangible, like he wasn't removed or formally reprimanded from what we know. But obviously, Martin Kove, at best, has a judgment problem and is not real clear on how his behavior can make women uncomfortable. Let me just say it like that. At best. At worst, this is a pervasive behavior, which is probably something that has been going on for many, many years and probably many, many set locations. He's been a working actor since the 1970s, if I'm not mistaken. So if it's happening now, I'm inclined to believe it was happening then. And Tuwala, you found this story before I did. And when I saw it, it's like, yeah, of course. You don't just start out biting someone's arm in public in front of her husband for everyone to see unless you have been routinely engaging in behavior that is probably questionable or unacceptable. You know, you've crossed that line before, because for you to just walk up and do this in front of view of everyone and bite this woman's arm, there's probably other things that are probably not acceptable.
This is typical behavior, or this behavior is run the mill for him to do that in public so comfortably. This is something he's done before. And, you know, when you really delve into this Deadline report, you know, according to sources within the report, yes, he was read the riot act, and it was suggested that he remain in his trailer for the rest of the filming of the series. So this happened early enough where they couldn't excuse him at the time from the series. He's too core to Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai is literally based on his character. So yeah, I can see how this didn't make the light of day until now.
Well, let me flip it. And let's say that I worked as an extra on some movie sets and some TV sets many, many years ago. Mm-hmm. And I know how extras, even if you're a featured extra just means you don't have any lines. You could be a featured extra, not have any lines, and you could be there for multiple days. Let's say on Cobra Kai, you could be one of the fighters in the scenes. If you are an extra, you are less than nobody. And it's easier to get rid of the extra or remove the extra than it is to tell one of the stars. Cobra Kai is not Cobra Kai without Martin Kove. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
It is easier to get rid of the extra, the problem extra, than it is to tell Martin Kove, one of the stars, stay in your trailer. Do not come out. I'm reading into this, but for me, it says to me that there had to have been more than just one complaint. There had to be a level of behavior which was systemic, where they said, look, stay your ass in your trailer from now on. Because if you're talking about one complaint from one extra, which is not even real specific as far as either physical contact, it's listed as leering. So it's like he was staring at her and maybe made some comments, offhanded, flirtatious comments. That's usually not enough to get the star reprimanded. They would keep the extra away or cut that person a check and say, have a nice day. It's easier to do it that way. Why are you going to continue to flirt with liability?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this to me, if I was a prosecutor and if this was my case to try, I would submit this as prior reasoning rationale to show that he has a history of this behavior.
Yeah, this will be evidence as to pattern. Yeah. And look, I'm not trying to say he's Bill Cosby. I'm not trying to say that he is Diddy. I am saying that usually there is a pattern underneath. It's not just one person. There are probably plenty more. And if not for this incident, there probably would not have been any discussion of what had happened on the set of Cobra Kai. And I believe that there is a cascading effect. You'll probably hear about more incidents. Because this is not the only set that he was on. And if he's biting women at 80 years old, he was probably biting women at 65 and 70. I may be wrong, but I doubt it. It's Later with Mo Kelly. KFI M640. We have the Rahner Report when we come back on F1. That's coming up next.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Movies, TV, and pop culture. Rahner Report with Mark Rahner.
Now on Later with Mo Kelly. Mark talks about movies and TV. Pontificates about pop culture. Rahner Report with Mark Rahner. Mark Rahner right now. Mark Rahner right now. Mark Rahner right now.
Report with Mark Rahner.
It's Later with Mo Kelly. We're live on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and the iHeartRadio app. Here comes Mark Rahner with the Rahner Report.
Tonight, F1, the movie, not to be mistaken for F1. The emphasis is key here. And as I mentioned a couple days ago, it's not a movie about one of your function keys. It's a movie about Formula One racing with Brad Pitt. Here's some of the trailer.
So you like straight talk?
Straight as an arrow. No sugar.
Why are you here, Sonny? When you look in the mirror, you see this rough and tumble, old school cowboy. Doesn't take orders, goes his own way, huh? A lone wolf. Well, I've news for you. Formula One is a team sport. It always was. Listen, let's get this straight. We all lose our jobs if you can't pull off a miracle.
No pressure.
None.
The only question here is, why did Sonny Hayes come back to F1?
I think it's really wonderful that Apex are giving second chances to the elderly.
Why did he come back? And can he pull off the miracle? F1, the movie, is more than 2.5 hours. So F that. Brad Pitt plays a race car driver, as you heard in the trailer, who's been sort of bumming around for 30 years after a traumatic event, capital T, capital E. And he's recruited by Javier Bardem to help save his failing race team with a cocky, up-and-coming young driver played by Damson Idris in what I think is his first big film role after plenty of TV work. In that sense, F1 is a little like The Natural, but for people who like to watch cars go around in circles for hours and may have more tattoos than teeth. And before you say F me about mocking race fans, I've driven a Formula race car for a newspaper story. I've covered the first Brickyard 400 in Indianapolis. I have earned the right to this mockery. I even had some dental issues of my own recently, but not of the Leanne Rimes variety. If you're only watching on the live stream, hoping the choppers are going to get launched across the room, I'm afraid they're still attached. The Irish actress, Kerry Condon, who you heard in the trailer, remember her from the Banshees of Inisherin? If you haven't seen that, watch it. She plays the engineer in this movie and hookup interest of Pitt, who's nearly 20 years her elder. They have one F. She makes everything she's in better. F1's directed by the perpetrator of Top Gun Maverick, Joseph Kosinski.
Oh,
and you might be able to guess that even if nobody told you just from watching. This Formula race movie is similarly, say it with me, formulaic. And Pitt's character, Sonny Hayes, is, as you heard in the trailer, a bit of a maverick, a loose cannon. He takes too many risks. He's also an old school type who's not down with the new ways of doing everything. He lives in a van. His young teammate has a supermod apartment. He goes jogging with the crew. The young guy is hooked up to equipment and simulators and stuff. You get it, Chad? If you can look at that scene that I think is in the trailers with Pitt and the younger guy nearly coming to bro blows and a "you better get your head screwed on right" argument and not either laugh or groan, this movie may be for you. Damn it, Mo, it's not just your career you're messing with here. It's mine, too. How's that? Is that okay? FU was also written by Aaron Kruger, who wrote Top Gun Maverick, as well as some Transformer movies. So let's just be clear-eyed about what we're dealing with.
He did
here.
Arlington Road as well. He done some good stuff.
Don't you defend him. You'll have your chance. What I'm saying is that this is not material that requires a lot of your brain's processing power and bandwidth, okay? I got to cut to the chase here, especially after that interruption, so to speak. F1 looks good, especially on a big screen. It's a popcorn movie, but it is a drag, so to speak. We're hauling out all the cliches here. It's a marginally enjoyable crowd pleaser of a movie, but it's way too long. There's absolutely nothing special about the bare bones generic story. And even if you happen to sort of passively like it in the moment when the camera is whipping from the track back to Pitt at the wheel, which is kind of a cool thing, the movie will not be remembered as any kind of storytelling masterpiece. The dialogue sucks. In fact, even if you really just like looking at 61-year-old Brad Pitt, F1 mainly just feels like a product. Here's your pull quote, publicist. F1, kind of a big skid mark. Now look, I like cars. I love movie car chase scenes, and I've written about them, which you can Google. We could do a whole show just on those. Bullet's been on my mind lately because Lalo Schifrin, the composer of that, passed away yesterday. But apparently, it's hard to make a whole racing movie that's good. Apparently. I love Steve McQueen, and his Le Mans movie sucks. I love Michael Mann, but his Ferrari movie also sucks. You're going to throw Days of Thunder at me, and to that yes. I say... and
Ford versus Ferrari was good.
Yes, it was. And now that I'm thinking of it, Talladega Nights might be the best racing movie.
Probably.
Yes.
And because filmmakers have such a hard time making anything interesting about driving around on a track for hours, that's why Death Race 2000 is an immortal masterpiece, and I will fight you over that.
Isn't that Carradine?
Yeah. Paul Bartel was the director. David Carradine was the star. And young Sylvester Stallone. Also, be careful driving home after watching F1. Just like after when you've been playing a video race game, you do not respawn after you crash, and you cannot afford the kind of health care that Pitt and Idris receive in the movie. Now, I know you guys are going to see it regardless of what I say, but you've been warned as of right now.
Yeah, I'm going to see it.
Okay, this was pointless.
No, what are you giving a review or a warning? I mean,
it's both.
Okay,
it's both. It's like that's all these are half. So warning.
Is it kind of slow though, like outside of the racing? Because that's all I'd go for anyway.
Well, like I said, the whole script is just a delivery device for the racing scenes.
For the race, okay.
And so if you actually pay attention to what they're saying and doing between the racing scenes, which are really frenetically shot and cut, it's crap. I mean, you're going to see, if you look on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a pretty good rating. I think last time I looked this morning, it was something like 83% positive. I'm in the minority of
That's
this.
up from 33.
33% positive?
Yeah, it was really low.
To 83?
Well, okay, that's news to me, but right now it's got a vastly positive review. I am one of the outliers. But if you go down the list and you look at the reasons people say they like it, you're talking about like a bunch of chimps who are fascinated by an amulet being hung in front of them and shaken around by somebody. What I'm saying is you can trust me. You cannot trust 83% of the critics in the United States.
But see, that's a perfect example. It is a highly publicized movie. Everyone knows about the movie. Because of Rahner's report, I don't feel the need to run to the theater to see it, but I'll watch it 35, 40 days from now, where it'll show up on Apple TV because it's an Apple Films production, so that's where it'll end up.
Well, this is the frustrating thing about it. It's a movie that was made to be seen on a big screen.
That's what I was thinking.
But if you're interested in using your brain at all, so it's a popcorn movie, but you can have popcorn movies that aren't for morons and by morons.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Tell us how you really feel.
It sounds so personal. Like,
no.
Well,
like Brad Pitt
the movie
slept with your woman or something.
Oh, no, let's be clear. I take insults to my intelligence personally. If I take the time to drive to a movie and pay to see it, I pay to see these movies. I don't go to the free screenings like all the other critics. I pay like a normal human being. So if it's bad, I take it personally. You have ruined half my day.
But see, that goes back to what we were talking about earlier in the future of the movie theater going experience. If for you to take it personally when you see a bad movie, you're probably disinclined to go to the movies all that often.
The choices are a lot harder than they used to be. I mean, as we've said before, you used to just decide, hey, we're going to the movies on Friday night, and you didn't really necessarily have one in mind. You just picked one. But not anymore. It's not like that anymore.
Those times are over.
So F this movie. That's your Rahner report.
Jake, and then Faith. Shake it back.
KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
KFI and KOST HD2, Los Angeles, Orange County. More stimulating talk.